All right. We're watching SpongeBob Squarepants fan theories, bullshit, the truth bombs. All right, let's get it.
Is one of the most popular cartoons ever made. It has been going strong for over 20 years and has cultivated a massive community of fans,
True.
myself included. And with a strong following like that, it has also generated a wide variety of fan theories. Like, a lot of fan theories.
I was watching SpongeBob today, so this made me like want to fucking do this.
And ranking them by plausibility.
Me and my daughter were watching it earlier.
Full of holes to the possible to the probably and absolute truth bombs. I'm Kifinosi with WickedBinge, and this is SpongeBob Squarepants fan theories. BS to truth bombs.
Thank you. SpongeBob hackers secretly lovers? Probably.
That have been debunked. These theories either have so many holes that they can't possibly be true because they lack evidence, or have been confirmed false by creators. These theories are BS. The World War II theory. Right off the bat, we're starting with a bizarre one. This theory suggests that the entire show is a metaphor for World War II. Squidward is Hitler, a hate-filled artist who wants to get rid of his neighbors. SpongeBob represents the Jewish people, and Patrick represents the innocent German citizens caught up in the war. Meanwhile, Sandy represents America, and Mr. Krabs represents the rest of Europe, looking down on Hitler's actions. This theory does sound interesting on the surface, but it doesn't really hold up once you take a deeper look at it. For starters, even though Sandy is from America, she's never at odds with Squidward. But more damningly, there are many examples in the show, like the April Fool's episode, Squidville, or even the third movie, where Squidward shows that he actually cares for the titular sponge, even considering him to be a friend. It's enough to shoot down the theory. And it isn't even a complete theory, just a needlessly dark metaphor if we're being honest. Every character is addicted to a different drug. Part of the appeal that SpongeBob Squarepants has
I haven't heard any of these, bro.
Is that each character has their own distinct personality. Fans, however, have noticed some patterns with each character. SpongeBob is always hyperactive, Squidward is always sad or angry, Patrick is always aloof, and so on. With every character having generally one distinct characteristic defining them, characterizing fans have tried to explain their eccentricities. One popular theory suggests that every character is addicted to a different drug. According to the theory, SpongeBob's hyperactiveness and vivid imagination are attributed to a shroom addiction, Mrs. Puff's paranoia about SpongeBob, as well as Mr. Krabs' irritable obsessive nature when it comes to money, and his formula are attributed to cocaine addictions. Squidward's depressive tendencies and lack of energy are attributed to heroin abuse. Lastly, Patrick's aloof attitude is attributed to marijuana usage. Our problem with this particular theory is that it treats the characters as one-dimensional, acting as if the one characteristic they link to each drug is all that these characters have. But there are instances where the characters break out of their usual norm, with Squidward being happy, like in Band Geeks, Squidville, Snowball Effect. Mr. Krabs is also seen being generous, like in Christmas Who, and SpongeBob being tired or passive, like in Pre-Hibernation Week and SpongeBob You're Fired. Meanwhile, Mrs. Puff seems to be relaxed whenever she has a chance to be away from SpongeBob and his dangerous driving. The Bikini Atoll theory.
I've heard this one.
The popular fan theory attempts to explain why the Bikini Bottomites are so uniquely different from regular fish.
And the reasoning is because they believe the Bikini Atoll is where the Bikini Atoll is where the U.S. tested a bunch of nukes at, right? And they think that these fish are nuclear, like radioactive and deformed and whatnot. That's their whole theory to this one.
Next to the real-life Bikini Atoll tests. Bikini Atoll is an island where the US government ran some nuclear bomb testings during the Cold War. This theory suggests that Bikini Bottom takes its name after Bikini Atoll and is located under the test site. Therefore, it suggests that the characters are mutated fish created by the radiation caused by those tests. This theory seems very plausible, and it is widely treated as a gospel fact by the SpongeBob fandom. However, once you look a little deeper, it quickly becomes apparent that it simply cannot be true. In the episodes SB129 and Ugh, we see prehistoric versions of Bikini Bottom existed, and even though the fish in those versions are less evolved than their modern counterparts, they are definitely more evolved than regular fish. Furthermore, in the episode Pest of the West, we see that evolved fish, like those in the show, existed in the 1800s, way before the tests ever happened. Some fans have tried to
drink
reason
water,
that the evolutionary timeline in Bikini Bottom
viewers
doesn't
are worried.
have to be the same as the one in the real world. They claim the theory can still work even with these episodes shown. This can't cut it either though, because SpongeBob gets his driver's license in the episode No Free Rides, and we see that his date of birth is 1986. This means that the SpongeBob timeline is the same as our own, and therefore the Bikini Atoll theory is false.
Sure.
Moving on from the BS, we will have some theories that still have a lot of problems.
Okay.
Not enough to say that they are completely debunked, but still, these theories are full of holes. The two Neptunes.
Yeah,
One of the
this is,
biggest
what the
questions that
fuck,
has been
why?
causing SpongeBob fans head scratches for years is why is the Neptune from the SpongeBob Squarepants movie different from the show's Neptune? YouTuber Alex Bale has attempted to answer this question with a rather unique theory. He suggests that the movie never actually happens in the canon. This theory is based on the episode Lost and Found,
Well, that
in
makes
which
sense.
we see some items from the movie, like Neptune's crown, sitting in the Krusty Krab's Lost and Found area. He proposes that the SpongeBob movie is an actual movie made in the SpongeBob universe, and the movie Neptune is just an actor. So is the first SpongeBob movie simply a movie within the show's universe? Unfortunately, as tempting as it is to accept this as the solution to this confusion, we have to say no.
I
For
mean, that would
starters,
make
the
sense.
SpongeBob movie is
That would make perfect sense though, because we have this different Neptune. We have the Goofy Goober production, the Goofy Goober rock production. That's enough in itself to say, yeah, this could totally be a movie. I could totally see this.
the best possible finale the show could have, and to suggest that all the development the characters go through was never real, it just makes the whole show worse in hindsight. But more importantly, there's a real-life explanation for the difference in Neptunes. You see, when the movie was made, there was a copyright firewall between Nickelodeon and Paramount. As a result, the movie couldn't use elements from the show and vice versa. This is why the movie had to make a different version of Neptune, and why the show couldn't use Mindy when Neptune and his family appeared in a later season. The death theory. While we are on the subject of the SpongeBob movie, we need to discuss one more theory that originates from it. It is no secret that after Mr. Hillenburg left the show, the writing quality worsened, causing the character of SpongeBob to become a lot dumber and more childish. This theory suggests that the original SpongeBob actually did die during the famous Shell City death scene. Because sea sponges like SpongeBob reproduce asexually, the SpongeBob that was created when he got watered again was his offspring. This could explain why he's less intelligent and more babyish in the following seasons. This theory might sound pretty logical on the surface, though it has a lot of problems. For starters, the movie is canonically set as the series finale. Therefore, all the episodes released after it chronologically take place before it. Not to mention that this theory fails to account for the rest of the movie after this scene, where SpongeBob does act like his usual self.
Well, maybe that's just how all sponges act, Maybe they just all act like SpongeBob. We don't know. You ever meet a sea sponge? Because I certainly haven't. You've met a sea sponge? I mean, I don't know. What do they act like? Truly, I have no clue.
These are made out of crab meat. Every fan of SpongeBob has caught themselves occasionally wondering what the secret of the Krabby Patty formula is that Plankton is trying so hard to acquire. One of the most popular fan theories suggests that Mr. Krabs' deeply protected secret involves cannibalism. We never do see any crabs outside of him and his family in Bikini Bottom, after all. This theory also points out that the Krusty Krab is modeled like a crab trap as evidence. But the most important clue that made this theory stand the test of time is in the episode Midlife Crustacean. There, Mr. Krabs tastes a Krabby Patty and says, "So that's what I taste like."
So that's what I taste like.
There are undoubtedly a lot of clues that make it seem like Eugene really does use other crabs to make his famous burgers. However, like with the previous theories, they don't really hold up once you examine them more carefully. While it's true that we don't see many crabs in the show, the same could be said about the species of most of the main characters. This is likely done to keep them unique in the mind of the audience, not as an intentional clue for the formula. Moreover, the Krusty Krab is modeled as a lobster trap, not a crab trap like the theory suggests. And finally, in the episode Midlife Crustacean, Mr. Krabs' reaction is a result of a female fish comparing him to an old, dry Krabby Patty. He isn't literally talking about the taste. But
how do you
don't be
know?
disappointed just yet, because we have a much better theory about the formula coming up down the line.
Okay, that's what I like to hear.
SpongeBob and Squidward's houses came from a tiki bar. Of all the buildings in Bikini Bottom, Squidward's and SpongeBob's houses are easily the weirdest ones. We definitely wouldn't expect to find a pineapple and a tiki head at the bottom of the sea. Redditor Brains a Gramophone attempted to explain their existence with a very creative theory. According to the Redditor,
Sorry, I had to text my
you can
ex-wife
commonly
back
find these items in
about my
tiki-themed
child.
cocktail bars that are often parts of cruise ships. They suggest that one such ship sunk into Bikini Bottom, which might lead to the houses ending up there for SpongeBob and Squidward to inhabit. This is a very well thought out and interesting theory. Unfortunately, the show itself contradicts it. In the episode Truth or Square, we see the true explanation for how the pineapple ended up under the sea. And it was an artist dropping the pineapple from his boat, causing it to sink to the bottom of the ocean.
What?
One could still argue that this theory can work for Squidward's house alone, but then they would also need to explain the other Tiki heads / Easter Island heads in Squidville. How many cruise ships could have sunk at the same part of the sea? SpongeBob and Patrick rewrite time.
That's a simple answer, truly. I mean, and all the answer is they're in the fucking the Bermuda Triangle. That's where SpongeBob takes place. They're in the Bermuda Triangle, so that's where all the ships go down and planes disappear, and that's why there's so much shit down there, because that's where it vanishes to. It really just vanishes to Bikini Bottom. See, I'm five head sometimes.
Throughout the show, we get a lot of conflicting information about the Krabby Patty formula. The two most important instances are in the Season 4 episode Enemy-in-Law, where Mr. Krabs says it's an old family recipe, and in Friend or Foe, where he says that he discovered it by accident. Redditor SLG Hammer suggests that the reason for this inconsistency lies in the episode Dunces and Dragons. In that episode, SpongeBob and Patrick find themselves in a medieval version of Bikini Bottom, ruled by an Emperor Krabs, which is constantly in danger because of a giant jellyfish dragon terrorizing it.
I remember that
At the end of
episode.
the
This episode was
SpongeBob
fucking
saves the
awesome.
day by teaching Mr. Krabs' medieval counterpart how to make Krabby Patties to feed the beast. This theory suggests that originally the story of Friend or Foe was the true one. However, SpongeBob and Patrick changed the timeline after this episode, changing the formula into a family recipe passed down for generations. Now, the problem with this theory is that there's no proof that the events of Dunces and Dragons actually happened outside of a one-off gag. The existence of a medieval version of Sandy proves that it's very likely to just be a dream, since Sandy's ancestors shouldn't logically be in the ocean. Additionally, Old Man Jenkins' death, the catalyst for the formula's creation in Friend or Foe, is contradicted in a later episode where he's shown to be very much alive. This suggests that both stories are just covers that Mr. Krabs made up to hide the true secret behind his precious formula. With all that...
Alright, but the real question is, right, what's the actual patty formula? You know what I mean? That's what I want to know. What is the actual Krabby Patty formula, and what the fuck is it? Is it lobster? They said it's not crab, but they never said it wasn't lobster. And it is a lobster trap, you know? Excuse me. I'm going to the bathroom real quick before we keep this up.